Thank you for stopping by Ballistic Barbecue. On this video, I am going to be cooking up my interpretation of the Tenderloin Cheddar Cheeseburger from a restaurant out of Istanbul, Turkey, Baltazar. Let's get going. All right, this request came from one of my subscribers who actually lives in Turkey. His name is, and I hope I don't butcher this, Barak. And we had quite a few exchanges about these burgers at this place. Baltazar, it's a burger and steak restaurant. And looking at their website, they're serving up some amazing food. I tried to reach out to them when I was doing my research. They don't have an email address, and I wasn't gonna call them on the telephone. So I did send them a message through Facebook, but they just never got back to me. So again, this is why it's more of an interpretation. The Tenderloin burger, I'm going with that just because I've never used tenderloin in a grind before for hamburgers. And in my opinion, it's a strange choice because tenderloin is just so lean, but it's very, very tender. I think it kind of lacks flavor compared to like your ribeyes and your strips. So I am going to be mixing it with it's going to be about a 60-40% blend of a nice, very well marbled ribeye, as you can see, and about 40% of this tenderloin, which I've already had these cuts diced up. You can see the difference in the marbling here. So let's get the grind going here. Turn my grinder on. And what I like to do when I'm sorry about that. What I like to do when I'm grinding two different types of cuts or multiple cuts is I try to insert the different cuts at the same time. So I have here the ribeye with the tenderloin. Let's get this machine back on. So as you can see, that's some pretty yummy looking hamburger meat there. I always like to refrigerate this just a little bit after the grinder, just because this has got a motor in it. It's going to kind of warm up the fat a little bit. I like everything to kind of re-solidify. I'll be back with the next step. Okay, we're going to start forming that patty now, and Baltazar makes these just enormous patties, and it's almost like a football shape, like this big blimp shape. So it's going to be interesting. I've never cooked a patty this shape. There's a lot of firsts for me in this video. What I'm using, and I get asked a lot, how do you form your patties? A lot of times I just go free form and just kind of use just my hands. Other times I use one of these like a biscuit ring or a cookie cutter ring. I don't know what they are, but I bought it at a baking store in a set of like 5 or 6, and they come in different shapes. I always try to match up the size of the ring to the size of the bun that I'm using. So using this ring, and again, we're going bigger than this. So I like to keep the hamburger meat kind of fluffy and loose, I guess. I think it makes a juicier burger when you do that. And it also keeps the hamburger from swelling up into a soft ball. So when I'm pressing it in, I'm just using enough pressure to keep it whole. And I want to make sure that it doesn't fall apart on the grill as well. But the center of this burger patty will be, again, pretty loose, so all the juices are flowing through there. Wow, this is almost looking like a Wagyu grind here. It's so fatty with that ribeye. That was a good ribeye that I ground up. Don't hate me. And you can see I'm going above and beyond the ring here. Okay, we are going to carefully remove this ring here. So you can see it's enormous. And just to kind of make it look a little bit more like theirs, I'm going to just kind of press down this sharper edge here. Parchment is my friend when it comes to making burgers. Yeah, not quite as big as my head, but it's pretty darn big. Okay, I want to show you one more thing. Let me wash my hands first, and then I'm ready to get outside and start grilling this bad boy up. Now, Baltazar uses brioche buns, but they do something very, very unique to them. And I think it's unique to us here in the West. I actually found other burger restaurants online that were in Turkey, and a few of them were doing this. And I think it's because it's a kind of a culture that eats a lot of flatbreads, maybe. I don't know. But so here's a brioche bun, just like you'd see in a lot of my videos. However, they hollow it out. So I just literally pinched out the excess bread here, and it makes like a bowl shape, and this bulbous burger that I'm about to cook fits in here perfectly. When you slice it in half, there's very little bread and a lot of meat. So again, one more first for me. Thank you, Barak. I appreciate that. Anyway, got the grill all fired up. I will see you out in the patio. I have the Weber fired up today using the Crate Court cast iron grates. No flat top today. Lump charcoal, blazing hot. I have all the charcoal on this side, nothing on this side. I'm going to do my best to replicate what I see them doing, but again, they're using a big, commercial cooker. So anyway, we're going to start off with caramelizing onions. I'm going to start out just by heating the pan up on the direct heat. We'll throw in some olive oil and my favorite onion, which is a sweet onion. I love caramelizing these. Caramelizing onions just takes a lot of patience. You got to give these guys some love. When I see this starting to sizzle, I'm going to move it over to where there's no charcoal. I'll still get a nice radiant indirect heat. And you just got to keep these onions moving. If you see that they're starting to fry up and blacken, you got to get them to a cooler spot on your grill. Or if you're using stovetop, just turn the heat down. Okay, as you can see, they're starting to get that kind of translucent color. What I've been doing is just moving it back and forth from intense direct heat to just a radiant heat. What I'm going to do now, this is because when I think of Istanbul, I'm thinking spice. And I'm not going to overwhelm these onions, but I want to add just a little bit of spice. And I'm using a local spice, southwestern kind of a spice, ancho chili powder. I'm just going to add just a little bit. This is going to kind of deepen the color a little bit. It's going to add just a little bit of heat, but as this toasts, it's also going to kind of add a nutty flavor, kind of an earthy flavor to these onions here. And again, patience, patience, patience. Just keep these guys moving. If it looks like they're getting a little too hot, just scoot it on over. And here's what we are looking for: beautiful, caramely, sticky onions. And just look how much it's been reduced. Now it's all that caramelized, that condensed sugar in there. Okay, I'm going to pull this off. Keep these guys on the cool side now, just so it keeps warm, but it's not going to burn. So we're ready to conquer that burger patty now. I'm going to season it with some sea salt and some pepper. Now this is a big patty. I mean, I don't need to tell you that again. I'm going to start this off on direct heat. I want to get a nice char, seal the outside of this. Then we're going to bring it to an indirect heat, and I'm going to cook it like a steak basically. And I'm going to be using my thermometer. So let's get on this direct heat here. Season this with some more salt, some more pepper. Right, we're going to go ahead and give this a flip. Again, what I'm looking for is a nice char here. Like that. Looks beautiful. So as I was cooking this, I was basically just watching the edges of the burger, and as I saw the color change coming down the side of the burger, once it got to about the halfway point, I flipped it. All right, this patty's looking great. I'm going to go ahead and move it now from this direct side over to the indirect side. Again, I'm going to allow this indirect heat to kind of go to work and roast this thing. One option would be to put the lid on. Right now, I don't think I'm going to have to. I have a lot of heat going on over here, so I'll just keep an eye on it. But again, putting a lid on it, you're more or less roasting this big, thick patty. I have my instant read thermometer here, And I'm looking for an internal temp on this burger at about 140, I think will be good. All right, so I've hit my target temp, that 140, and I flipped the burger one time. I'm just looking for a nice even cook. What I'm going to do now is get it back on that high heat side. I'll throw on those onions. Oh, that looks good. Nice slice of sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm putting the dome on. So while the cheese melting, I'm taking these Turkish brioche bowls. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a toast. That's looking good. Get this back on the indirect side. Okay, this is what we got. All right, again, we're doing something different here. That in the bottom bun, top bun, 2 skewers. Now they're using skewers with a little like flag on it. So I'm going to place these right about here. Take my knife. Looks good, nice and juicy. Poking the stick through the bottom. All right, now check this out. Initially I was thinking this was just for presentation reasons, but now I think it's actually so you get that nice char with the first bite. These look really good, and there's that nice kind of char smell in the air right now. When you buy one of these burgers at the restaurant at Baltazar, they have ketchup, mustard, and mayo table side. I don't think it needs it. I mean, there's so much high quality steak in this burger, then those caramelized onions and that nice melted sharp cheddar cheese. I'm just gonna eat it just the way it is. I think this is the way it's meant to be eaten, or else they would have added this stuff, you know, prior to bringing it to the table. Just look at that. And you can see just how juicy this is. I mean, that's really cool looking. Let's give this a go. So this tastes just the way I wanted it to taste. You get that quality char grilled meat flavor, those nice sweet caramelized onions with that just hint of spice and that cheddar flavor. And the cool thing is, you know, with all that bread removed, it definitely doesn't need anything else. It's almost like the bread. I mean, the bread's there, you get that nice brioche, that buttery brioche flavor, but it comes just sort of a tool to hold this really good piece of steak in your hand. I mean, this is great. I learned a lot from this burger. I mean, like I said, there are, I don't know, 3 or 4 things that I've never done before in this one recipe, so I appreciate that. Keep those requests coming in, guys. I'm going to keep this a little marathon going until, like I said, until you guys get sick of it, or until I just really want to break out and do something different. But right now it's fun chewing at that list that I have of requests. Anyway, until the next video, cheers.